do you still have eyes on the Audi?
There's no plates on it. It's probably 100% stolen.
When he's not picking up passengers, rideshare driver Matt Nallette patrols the streets of Chicago, hunting for stolen cars.
So what are the telltale signs that you find that indicate a car is stolen?
And it may have a broken back window, you never know. It may have something that looks like it's suspicious.
Nallette checks a public Chicago police website with license plates and VINs to see if the cars he finds have been reported stolen.
It might be a fresh steal, but I'm still gonna call 911 anyway.
So we've only been out for a few minutes with Matt, and we've already rolled up on this this Hyundai. Looks like the back passenger side window is smashed out.
Hello?
Hello, 911.
Yeah, how you doing? There's gonna be a stolen Hyundai over here on the corner of Lemoyne and Cicero.
In the last 3 years, Nallette says his Facebook group of 31,000 watchers have helped recover more than 4,500 stolen cars like this one.
You don't leave till somebody gets here.
Yeah, I don't.
Why not?
Because it'll disappear. How you doing, brother?
Matt Nallette says he sympathizes with the officers he meets on the street.
Well, thanks for coming.
A lot of people are going to see what you're doing and they say, why can't the police do this?
They're too busy.
When did you find out it was stolen?
2 days after I had it.
The Infiniti Lisa Nisko bought online
I mean, it's a beautiful car.
was flagged as stolen when she tried to register it. One of 15,000 cars reported stolen in New York City last year.
But you still have the keys to the
Yeah,
car?
I have-
You could drive it technically, but you're not allowed to.
No, they pinged it as stolen. We were told by the detectives not to drive it anywhere because if they were to ping it, we would get arrested.
It's been sitting in her driveway for more than a year.
So
They
you
cannot
own a
take it.
stolen car
I
that you
own it.
can't drive.
Correct.
NYPD tells us the investigation remains active and ongoing. But we found statistically it's unlikely her case will ever be solved. A CBS News analysis of police data from more than a dozen U.S. cities found that last year police solved at best 1 in 5 auto theft cases.
These are property crimes, and the law enforcement resources are generally understaffed. We've heard that over and over again.
And so did our CBS reporters across the country, who asked law enforcement in their communities.
Have you just given up?
We have not given up in any sense.
All point to budget and staffing shortages.
Why do we see that trend across the country?
It's a hard crime to prove.
The frustration is immense.
We asked Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart.
Do you think police departments have just given up on catching car thieves?
It's not what I've seen.
But the numbers show last year Chicago police solved 4% of auto thefts.
Los Angeles 7, New York 14, Baltimore 6, Denver 7. Single-digit solve rates when it comes to car thefts.
That's insane. 4%, 7%. No, I mean, that doesn't work under anyone's estimation. And no one should accept that. The notion that we don't have time for that, this is no different than they need a gun to commit the shooting, they need the car to commit. If they don't have the car, they can't go do that drive-by.
Last year, the sheriff introduced this windshield sticker as a potential solution. It means you've pre-authorized your car maker to release your private GPS data to law enforcement if your car is reported stolen.
We're able to track the car immediately.
He thinks the sticker also serves as a deterrent, though only a small fraction of the county has signed up.
This is not some property crime. This is an instrument for major crimes that are killing and shooting and hurting people.
There's no repercussions for their actions as well.
With relatively few arrests,
They'll just keep stealing cars, stealing cars, stealing cars.
Matt Nallette says
That's it.
there's no real deterrent.
Until they do a more horrible crime.
A few dozen acres on the south side of Granbury is already a pretty unique place. And not just because of Tracy Miller's substantial mustache.
This is not the biggest one I had. The biggest one I had was 3 foot wingtip to wingtip.
The real spectacle here
This is Billy. Billy is just a big old donkey.
is a herd of donkeys,
Hi, Rosie.
each with a name,
Hi, Sherman.
each with
It's Jenny.
a story.
Donkeys are the most abused animal in the world.
But here at Texas Rescue, they get a different fate,
You're okay.
helping rescue someone else.
Give a big old hug. You giving a big old hug today?
This is miniature Miss Ginny. She prefers that big mustache
You just want to love on somebody, don't you?
and a warm shoulder.
You could stay here all day, couldn't you?
These are now therapy donkeys, visitors to schools and nursing homes.
all my PTSD and everything just kind of melts away.
And a dose of calm for struggling Air Force veterans like William McCluskey.
My heart rate's down. I'm just kind of in my own little world.
William and his wife Roxy visit at least once a week, driving all the way from Mineral Wells.
I tell people in my life, my best day is donkey day.
It makes me feel relaxed. When I leave, it's just like I'm just putty in the chair in the car on the way home.
We've had autistic kids out here that they're not verbal, and after a few minutes, they're talking. They know it innately, and they want to come up and spend time with you.
But Tracy Miller wanted that gift of time offered to a few dozen more. For generations, the dry West Texas scrub near Fort Davis has been home to hundreds of wild burros, descendants of animals that helped tame the West. But rather than watch those growing herds get dispatched or culled, Tracy and his family have so far brought back 22.
Just a friendly baby.
Several.
Good girl, Mama.
Arriving pregnant, including Black Betty.
Bamla, come on, Dad, a good boy. Yes, he is.
Bamalam is her baby's name.
It's really touching that these donkeys are not going to be put down in some way, that they're getting a new lease on life.
That lease for them at Texas Rescue is to join the therapy herd or be adopted to caring Texas homes. They call it their Band of Burros Rescue Project.
These guys are on the same level as dogs and dolphins. They think, they process, they have a big heart. They want to be able to give back to you the same that you give to them. They know they've been rescued.
Before coming here.
We also know one more thing. Sirens. The once-a-month test of the local storm siren creates quite the burro and donkey chorus. But otherwise, peace and quiet and therapeutic hugs are all you will find here.
That's a good boy, huh?
The man with that spectacular mustache hopes you find something else.
That more people start understanding that donkeys really do have a purpose.
A purpose they will do their best to save.
It's a very special thing to see.
In Granbury, I'm Kevin Reese.
In the Echo Hawk home.
I personally believe in like a cultural and spiritual call to doing this kind of art.
Each stitch.
I did these handprints in the color of the native medicine wheel.
Each shade.
Red is the color of prayer.
Comes with a story.
It's also a symbol of the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls movement.
And sometimes a reminder about the plan.
These kids, along with my own, they know that if their aunties or their mom ever went missing, that we would never have left them on purpose.
It's a plan Abigail Echohawk of the Seattle Indian Health Board says every Native woman she knows has had to make, what her family should do if she were to disappear.
They would need to make sure that somebody looked for us. For my children, they know that my handprints are on the dresses. They know that they would be able to take my fingerprints to the police. Do you ever remember not knowing about this?
No. We can be in danger. People get lost by not telling people where they are and not being careful. They don't come home and you don't get to be with your family anymore.
Here in Washington, Indigenous people are going missing or being murdered at the second highest rate in the country. Seattle itself ranks as the city with the highest number of cases nationwide. According to the Seattle Indian Health Board, compared to white women, Indigenous women in Washington are 4 times more likely to go missing. Right now, State Patrol records show 126 Indigenous people in the state who aren't accounted for.
Research has shown us that the primary perpetrator of the acts of violence against Indigenous women and girls are white men, predominantly white men who come onto reservations or target Indigenous women within urban settings.
With fewer resources, Native American families are forced to take matters into their own hands and form plans for their loved ones.
I've actually posted something on Facebook. If I ever go missing, know that I didn't do it on purpose. Come look for me. I love my family and friends. I wouldn't just disappear.
Nana Bluen has spent the past 2 years looking for her own sister, 39-year-old Mary Johnson. Mary was last seen on the Tulalip Reservation on Thanksgiving 2020.
We don't want her flame to go out, so we're trying everything we can to keep her name and face out there.
Mary's sisters, Nona and Jerry, believe she may have been a victim of human trafficking.
Yeah, what do you tell your kids about where she is?
I just say, Aunt Mary's trying to find her way home. And our eldest daughter, she goes like this all the time. You know, and she's like, Mom, can we email the chief and ask where she is? Mom, why aren't they looking for her? You know, how come she's not home yet? She can't be that lost. And I don't want to tell them that she's missing. So that's what I tell them.
Fire Trail Road. This is the road what Mary was seen walking on the day she went missing. We believe that she trusted somebody, got in a vehicle, and has never been seen since.
Tulalip Police Chief Chris Sutter sees Mary's case as a continuation of what's been happening to Indigenous people in America for centuries.
Historically, the wrongs that have been committed, including abductions and murders and rapes and all forms of sexual assaults and other types of abuses, have gone unpunished and unprosecuted. This has been perpetuated for centuries.
And it's because of that history, Chief Sutter has talked to his own children about the plan.
My children have all heard Dad preach to them, be aware of their surroundings and their situation, and don't trust people.
I wanted to do this in honor of the families.
Back in the Echo Hawk home.
Do you guys know that? We would never leave you.
Mm-hmm. Abigail hopes future generations won't need to prepare for their own abductions or murder by having a plan.
Having a plan is part of the hopelessness that's experienced by our communities. It's not something any of us should have to do.
Until then, Abigail creates hope from unlikely sources, like these flowers on her latest art piece.
And really thinking about every single person as a blossom, as beloved life.
When the Seattle Indian Health Board asked for PPE during the pandemic, the federal government sent them these body bags instead.
How many body bags do you have?
Got like 22 left.
22 body bags?
Now Abigail uses them to create art that highlights the issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women. One of her works made from these body bags has even been featured in Vogue.
My artwork is a form of healing.
She's also now using them to keep the traditions of her culture alive for the next generation.
It's cool because most people are not able to be a part of the culture.
The thing I love about it is that for these kids, this is just who they are. It's going to be pretty.
Creating hope and beauty from darkness.
There's hope on healing the past so that we have full healing for our community so their children's children don't experience the same things that I did, that they did, where something like this is never out of a body bag again. I refuse to let the hopelessness be all the conversation.
Out in the element at the AAC is the best place to be.
If you could paint a picture of what Luka meant to Dallas. Luka Doncic! Artist C. Ray will certainly try.
This is an emotional piece.
Luka's legacy is painted in moments.
This is gonna be a story piece.
What started with small brushstrokes 7 years ago turned into a masterpiece.
Luka was the heart to the city, man. Hey, beautiful, man. Man, it's a blessing, bro.
And Dallas fans lived by every beat.
So many great memories at this spot right here behind us.
Buzzer beaters, moment makers, game winners.
He takes that shot and kills him.
And when news hit that Luka was traded to Los Angeles.
Anger, then shock. It kind of flip-flops. I told you the city hurting. I don't know if you got that.
C. Ray does what an artist can do. Pick up a brush. This is how he copes.
You see it, you know it's real, but you're hoping you're just gonna wake up and it's a nightmare. Now that it never happened.
He's not trying to brush it off, but to blend it in.
It sparks a feeling, a sentiment, a memory.
Behind all these numbers came a lot of impressions.
Thank you really sums it up, but it's really more than that. You'll forever be a legend in Dallas.
Thank you, Luka.
My farewell letter to Luka.
He is layered into Dallas's canvas, and his legacy will not fade.
Least we can do for Luka, right?
In Dallas, I'm Jobin Puniker.
3 minutes.
I lost my son to mental illness.
That's how long Sherry Unwala was given to talk to Forsyth County commissioners.
He took his life.
about her son, Carl.
When he was sick, we had no place to turn to.
It is so hard. You're telling your story, but then you feel they're not listening.
We're all saying the same things, and yet it still is getting just skirted over.
Elizabeth Johnson, who works with at-risk girls in the county, has also been pleading commissioners to move forward with a plan to build a mental health crisis center.
We have no facility to take them to.
We are in a crisis.
Commissioner Cindy Mills says the plan for the Whole Health Center, which would have 31 beds for adults and children who are in the midst of a mental health crisis, like suicidal thoughts or self-harm, was voted through unanimously 8 times over 3 years.
The county plans to build a cutting-edge 57,000 square foot public health facility.
With nearly $3 million taxpayer dollars already invested. About $30 million in federal COVID funds would cover the rest.
It was almost like manna dropped from heaven because it was something not expected.
There are so few mental health beds available in Georgia, most people in a mental health crisis are just sent to the ER, like Sherry's son.
He was crying. They just said mental issues and just labeled him and sent him away. He came home and within a few days he took his life.
The Whole Health Center seemed to be a solution, but Mills says in the last few months, her fellow commissioners suggested putting the money elsewhere.
Why wait 3 years to bring it up? I believe that it's the stigma.
A stigma stakeholders like Mary Schaefer with the National Alliance on Mental Illness says was fodder in the May primary election.
This is false. It is not a mental institution. It is a crisis intervention center.
Chairman John, can we try to catch you after executive session? Outside.
Commissioners John and Simonson declined to be interviewed by 11 Alive Investigates after the last board meeting before the election.
Can you tell me when you changed your mind about the whole health building?
That's not really an accurate depiction of what
would be more accurate?
County spokesperson Russell Brown confirmed the board is investigating alternate options for the COVID money, like investing in water and sewer.
A lot of infrastructure options, and all of those have been vetted, investigated, and looked at to see what the right options are.
If all of these options have been vetted and investigated, how come none of them have been brought forward in meetings yet? This is the first time I'm even hearing about this.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of discussions internally with the county on that.
Advocates fear the time has passed to save the project.
What hope is there that this can happen in the future with taxpayer money?
Never. Never. This is our one shot.
3 minutes. The time allotted for a mother's plea.
They just have to look at us and listen to us and know there is a need.
The exact length of this story. And time's up.
Let's get it started.
You ready?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Let's go from the top.
All righty. Let's go. I make music for stuff people scared to talk about. CRSA.
It's okay to be you. It's okay to hurt.
And I know you can relate. Look.
But what are you gonna do to get out that hurt?
But I'm man enough to say I got some issues. Look.
There is a connection between mental health and music.
And I'm healing from my transgressions. Who am I? I'm a conqueror of depression.
I used to cry, while rapping at the same time because I'm feeling the pain, the hurt, the sorrow, the anger, the embarrassment of what I went through. So, this is just one way I can get it out.
I was catching demons way back when I was 7.
3 years ago, 2020. That's when I wanted to kill myself again. I made these songs because my art is based on, heartbreak, depression, traumatic experiences, because those are the things I went through.
So easy, man, you don't have to fight it. Scream, not everything is what it seems.
Don't end your life. You can get out of that mental health crisis.
My name is Christopher Stevenson. I was born and raised in Dallas. These are my parents right here, Christopher Stevenson Sr., Raquel Stevenson. When I was at home, I had peace, but when I went into the world, that's where, the reality set in that, oh, you're black, oh, you're different. You haven't been exposed to the same hardships as others, so that makes you weaker. I got bullied ever since I was in the 1st grade. I went to a predominantly white school. A kid called me a racial slur, so I picked him up and slammed him up against a cabinet. So I had to move to a different school. And when I moved there to a different school, it was now predominantly black. Well, I swam in high school. I was a varsity swimmer. You don't typically put swimming with black people, so they're like, oh, well, you do a white people sport. You're different, man. You can't even play basketball. Kids will be like, you're not black, but you're not white, so you're gray. Anger in my heart, man, it's sharp enough to slaughter cattle. We've had
our times where we played basketball. Well, I grew up playing basketball. So he's like, Dad, I don't play basketball. I said, don't worry about that. Find what makes you happy.
I was dealing with an identity crisis. My voice isn't deep enough, you know, I don't sag my pants.
9th grade, he would get in my car and just bust out crying. I would lay in bed at night and wonder, okay, is it anything up there he can hurt himself with?
There have been plenty of nights that I came into this kitchen, into this room with a knife to my stomach saying this is gonna be my last day.
Because at this point, we had taken all the sharp objects out of the house. And from that, it just started spiraling. 11th or 12th grade, he called me from school and said, I wanna die. You know, I had to be strong for him.
All of that plus the bullying, it kind of took a toll on me, and that's when I finally told my parents that I was suicidal. Now, I already had the ideations and everything since I was young, you know, but actually expressing to them for the first time that, yes, you know, I don't want to be here. I don't want to live. That was the difference with me being 18, so.
I remember vividly going through the peer pressure and the bullying myself. To know that my son was going through those types of experiences, it was heart-wrenching.
I'll call my mom, she'll ask me, how's my days? Oh, I told off this kid. And she'll be like, well, you can't do that because you just left the school. So, you know, you have to find other ways to cope with your anger and how you feel. So that's where music came in. So if I didn't have music, I didn't write, I probably wouldn't be able to sit right here. Ain't no telling where I would be.
Devil screaming in my ear, that you don't matter. I didn't always have that outlet. I thought sex, to be honest, was the outlet. What if you get out after that party, you know what I'm saying, you get finished sleeping with somebody and you still feeling empty? And recall all the things that was done to me. Even my body would make me start loving me. I used to just go outside, hit walls, and just, you know, be self-destructive. My mama told me, you're already rehashing those same behaviors. Write about them, write how you feel.
So it says, who am I? I'm trying to cope, trying to avoid the rope. Play my music so I won't lose hope. Relating to these artists like we got the same blood. Music brought me out the mud.
So they started off as poems and then it ended up into being music. I just added the beats.
Music is a top coping mechanism for youth who are dealing with mental health issues. Youth have access to and are listening to music, playing instruments as really a way of stabilizing their mood. It really is helping with the mental health crisis. I am Dr. Shairi Turner. I am the Chief Health Officer for Crisis Text Line.
People are teetering on whether to live or die, just some of the trauma that they've gone through. And when you have a social climate that we've had over the last few years dealing with racism and social injustice, it heightens that. You're saying, what value does my life have? After George Floyd, I feel like an endangered species myself.
I just lost faith in humanity at that point. It made me suicidal again.
Black youth in particular are experiencing higher suicide rates than their white counterparts. When we talk about stigma in the Black community at a high level, it's about trust. It can lead to a sense of isolation or keeping Black men from seeking help.
Man, I really live. Would I be rapping? I had to just be this tough guy all the time, and it was exhausting.
There's a stigma that I gotta be the biggest, baddest, toughest, strongest man. Hypermasculinity, not being able to show your emotion. If you cry, then you're perceived as weak.
He was such a loving kid. He was the hugger boy. He got the hugger boy award, but that wasn't really common with kids.
This is me hugging my dad, so we didn't really do this a lot, so I just asked him for one. He was like, okay, and it was a little bit more kind of forced.
I would say to parents, find out what your kid's love language is.
I'm a loving person. That's my love language is physical touch, and it's like I can feel people's emotions. You know, my dad used the example, what's better for me to text you I love you or for me to come down, hug you and say that I love you? You're gonna go with the hug every time. So, and nobody ever forgets a good hug either.
Thank you, Dad, for, being here with me. I'm gonna make you proud with this one, watch.
My relationship with my father, sometimes all I needed was a hug. I needed him to show his emotions. And that's where the disconnect was, because how he was raised.
And I just let myself go and just say, you know what? He needs a hug. He needs me to show him that it's okay to show emotion. For him to light up. When I did that, that's when I said, that's what I need to be doing. You got to look that man in the mirror and say, you need to change for the sake of your son. That was the game changer for me.
Realizing that my father loves me, that would be the turning point. That would make me love myself again.
My father, man, I know you gonna be proud of me.
Dad, you liking how it sounds so far?
Just seeing you be your authentic self, I'm really proud.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
He's making an impact through his music, through his testimony. Just the transparency itself is going to really liberate people.
He's not afraid to speak his truth.
Had to separate from the people close to me. Mama always said, be who you supposed to be.
You could help so many people with your story.
Whoever listening to my music don't ever make the same mistakes as me.
Helping others is an excellent coping mechanism because it demonstrates that you are not alone.
Pass the baton to someone else so they can pave the same way as me.
And that others are dealing with the same struggles that you may have.
I feel like my story is important because it's relatable, but it still gives hope.
Like, it's gonna come with some lessons. It's gonna do that. Everybody doesn't want to talk about what's inside, but at the end of the day, some of us, we fragile. I've never been a gang member, but you know what's happening. I'm not a felon, man. I'm college educated. What's happening? You can hear the murder music. You can hear, you know, the party music and stuff, but I want to make music for when that stuff turn off.
There's no protesters have shown up, and we prepped up for the possibility.
Come this way. Get back in the building. We have an officer down, a suspect down. Big guy, come around the corner. Big guy, come around the corner. Hey, just hold what you got. Hey, don't let nobody come out of them doors. Hey, stop! 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 You're evacuating the officer now. Stand by.